Hello, my name is Baxter Swilly. I'm Public Affairs Director for the Oak Park Regional Housing Center. The Oak Park Regional Housing Center is a partner in the Austin United Alliance. We are the developers of the new Laramie State Bank redevelopment project, which is a project in Mayor Lori Lightford's Invest Southwest initiative. And joining me today is Khalees Stewart, who is a leader in our Arts and Culture Committee, which is designed to help bring to life the full development of this project so that there's public art and a real community narrative behind the Laramie State Bank redevelopment project. Hello, Khalees, how are you?
I'm great.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank-
You really look nice. I love your hair. You know, you didn't get all dressed up for me, did you?
Don't flatter me too much, Baxter. I am thankful to be here today to talk about what's upcoming.
You know, there's a lot upcoming.
A lot.
There's this project. There's a lot happening in the Austin community, but you sort of have been at this public art effort for quite a while. Tell us a little bit about what you do, the Front Porch Art Center, and sort of what the future looks like for you and your organization.
Okay, thank you. Well, Front Porch was launched just a few years ago in 2019 with the mission to provide more arts and cultural programming and events out west. You know, we are a neighborhood that really doesn't have a lot of the arts infrastructure and institutions that a lot of other neighborhoods have. And so the mission was to use existing West Side spaces as assets. And because of that, we've had some great partnerships over the years with the Chicago Public Library, with the Chicago Sinfonetta, the Park District. We've popped up in empty lots and backyards and in garden spaces, just with the mission to provide free arts programming. People often talk about the West Side from a very negative lens. And so being able to provide more events and programming to help us navigate our neighborhoods and our lives and our stories is why we launch
You
Front Porch.
mentioned pop-up.
Yeah.
Do you mean that literally? So do you actually take art and it just sort of pops up in vacant lots, different parts of the community? How does this whole pop-up art thing work?
Well, we did a great activation at 327 North Waller. One of the neighbors purchased a lot and wanted to create an event or, something to happen in that lot to mark it as a space where fellowship and creativity and community gathering, safe and positive community gathering can happen. And so we partnered with the Write It Down collective and did a open mic for singers. And so, we had music and food and fellowship. And so things like that is what we do. We have a monthly reading series at the Chicago Public Library called the West Side Writers Reading Series. And each month we highlight 3 or 4 West Side writers to tell their stories and to share their writing about the neighborhood. And one of the funniest things about that is all of the writers have some story about the Chicago Public Library, how it served as a space for them, through creativity and reading. And so it's kind of like a full circle moment to be in that space and to celebrate just a little bit of who we are as a people.
Yeah, when you say safe and positive, that really resonates with me because I feel like those are some of the elements that the Laramie State Bank redevelopment project will bring to the Austin community.
Yes.
This is a generational level public investment on the west side of Chicago. $45 million, 78 units. 51 of those units will be affordable units. We're bringing a bank to the community. We're bringing an incubator. So it's housing, it's retail,
I just want to
it's
snap.
financial literacy. Go ahead, snap, because
need all of
it's
that.
like, and you are a big part of that, because I mean, if we could see a little bit of on the screen what this project will look like, there is so much potential for art, for public community expression. I envision that we will have an opportunity to sort of define the cultural space on the west side through this development. As the chair of the Arts and Culture Committee that's sort of driving the public art component of this project, how do you see this development being used to tell the Black West Side story?
Well, you know, when you travel through Austin and Garfield Park and Lawndale, we don't have a lot of the public visual markers and representations of history and culture that you might see in other neighborhoods. So in that way, we kind of serve as an undocumented, archived people. You know, I was in grad school at UMass Amherst many years ago studying Black Studies, and, you know, saw that when it came down to the West Side, you know, our narrative was just a little blip on the page of the Chicago narrative. So what this project really will do will help to inspire so much, will help to document so much. And you know, artists are here really to take the stories of the neighborhoods and to transcribe them publicly and to really represent that voice in the same way that a blues man or blues woman does. And so because of that, there's so much power in representation, and I'm excited about the way that we are partnering with House School and being able to get some of those visual ideas from youth around how they see their neighborhood and how they see their place in their neighborhood will all kind of speak towards, you know, us being able to find more treasure and more celebration in where we are and who we are as a people. We need public representation, and so I'm thankful to be able to chair this committee, and as it moves forward, I'm excited about what's next.
I'm excited that you're chairing it. You know, because I'm not a artsy person, and we do need leadership. You know, it's the truth that a lot of artists are sort of withdrawn, and they all have their own artistic process. And it's just a blessing and a real benefit when an artist can share that with other people, you know, if in fact that's kind of their way. And apparently that is your way, because you've been an artist since you were a kid. So tell us, I mean, I know this about Khalid, she's shared this with me, but I'd like for you guys to learn a little bit more about her artistic life journey.
Well, thank you for just really like offering space for me to share a bit about who I am. I am a lifelong stutterer who was saved through...
I can't tell.
I was saved through books and through poetry, and I saw so much representation and value as a youth when I found a book called Black Voices. And reading through the book, I think I was about 10. This was 1989. I'm a storyteller, so I'm going to tell a story.
Go ahead and tell it.
And I flipped through the pages of this book, and it very much sounded like the people from the place that I was. So picture this, K-Town, 1989. I'm reading literature from the greats. And I said, my God, there's nothing wrong with us, because the narrative is that there's something wrong with us, but it's really an anti-black narrative, and it's really a classist and colorist narrative that people really choose to use that lens to look at the West Side. But I was really cultivated through Gallery 37 and also Free Street Theater. And as a young person, being able to, find those different organizations and institutions to support not only me honing my voice, but to support, my complex narrative, having been born and raised in this city. And so I'm so excited because we just got a grant through the city, the Together We Heal grant, and we're going to use those funds towards cultivating a new generation of writers, performers, and storytellers, youth-based. And so it's really a pleasure that we can partner with Free Street to get that program going.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely awesome.
Thank you.
I'm really proud of the work that you do.
Oh, I didn't say my other roots. Columbia College,
Right.
fiction and also film, and Chicago State University. I'll always shout them out, having the opportunity to study with Haki Madhubuti, who is the literary son of Gwendolyn Brooks, and Kelly Norman Ellis, Quraish Ali Lansana, and Nettie Okorafor. And so, having the opportunity to really study under the tutelage of those great Black writers, for me as a poet and as an author, if it hadn't been for these institutions, I don't know where I would be. So we're happy that we're going to be on the same block as you all, between Central and Laramie, because
on Chicago Avenue.
Yeah, because we got a grant.
Our project is on the corner of Chicago Avenue and Laramie Avenue, and your project is going
on the other side, on Central and Chicago Avenue.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
We're building a community.
Yes, we are.
One development, one project at a time.
Yes, we are.
So this is really a very invigorating discussion to have, because I feel like the West Side is moving. I feel like our organization, the West Cook Homeownership Center, is playing a part in that. This whole project that we proposed to the city of Chicago was designed to address the Austin Quality of Life Plan, which was drafted by Austin Ford together with the help of LISC. And so what we've done is we've sort of pulled together some committees, community engagement committees, one of which is chaired by you, the Arts and Culture Committee. And these committees are designed to sort of address the challenges that were listed in the Austin Quality of Life Plan. Khalil, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about not just the Arts and Culture Committee, but how can arts impact economic development, housing, public safety? I mean, you can take those in whatever order you think is best, but I'd like to hear you talk a little bit about that, about how a development plus community engagement can actually make a difference in public safety and economic development and those things.
Well, we know first that art heals.
Yes.
And art changes things, Thinking from that framework, because we are a neighborhood that has to unpack so much on a day-to-day basis. For us on the front porch, art is a intergenerational way that we can process and try to navigate just a little bit more some of the day-to-day that we have to endure. I think that, not only do we hope to create more spaces for us, we hope to be able to really build out the building and the framework, something that we're also including on that corridor is a outdoor stage and a green space, so being able to really speak to some visual and environmental needs, spaces where we can gather, spaces that may be green and healing, spaces that do provide more jobs. With this grant, we're hoping to be able to secure even more funding to provide jobs for the neighborhood. And I think like visually on that corridor, there's some improvement that that is currently taking place, and the visual dynamics of moving from different storefronts being vacant to now being occupied is something that I think as a neighborhood, us seeing more and more possibilities and people really using the space. Like often we don't know on one block if there's a storefront, if it's vacant, if it's been vacant for 20 or 30 years, or if it is open to be rented. So having the access and the resources to occupy spaces which have been dormant, to me, adding those features is something that aids to people really wanting to live in a neighborhood that has more resources and more amenities for people, as opposed to us having to travel outside of our neighborhoods in order to get access to things. And we know about the mass exodus of Black people from this city. 50 years ago, my people migrated here from Mississippi, which is, our common narrative, right, in this city. And, I don't think that they were prepared for the absolute devastation that the crack epidemic really did to us as Black people.
In the 80s and 90s.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And not only just the 80s and 90s, but right now. And so I think that, the more and more that we give and offer and create opportunities and something different, we can speak more and more to us as a whole. And it's really great to have this focus now on us from the city, and that the city is fully supporting so much that's happening on that corridor. So I'm excited about everything and what's next, and the funding that's being poured into this city as a way to really heal some of the past unfortunate disinvestment.
Lots of disinvestment. And you've brought up a number of points. Healing, a more positive lens, and you mentioned a public narrative. And I have personally, as the public affairs director and the community engagement leader on this project, been thinking about how a big project like this, which is in and of itself newsworthy, right? Anytime you spend $45 million on a big project in a community that's been chronically disinvested, and enduring all of the ills that black urban communities sort of go through, it's a search for a different conversation. And what we're finding is, because of the Laramie State Bank redevelopment, which is coming online in the next couple months, the conversation in the media has been a little bit more positive. And, you know, I put together this slide here that demonstrates some of the language, if we can see this slide, that has been used about the Austin community in place of some of the negative words. If we could put the slide up, if you don't mind putting the slide up. In place of some of the negative narrative, I thought I would pull out a few words, and, you know, what I'd like to do is sort of ask you what you think about some of these terms. So there's a article in the Chicago Block Club that says, City Council greenlights plan to transform Laramie State Bank. So that word transformational, as a writer, you and I are both writers. That word transformational, what does that communicate to you? Like, how do we leverage that term to actually build a new narrative for the Austin community?
I think to take something and transform it really means to take something in its current state and to, you know, I don't want to say butterfly it, but when I think about the Laramie State Bank, it really is about really taking a building that has been dormant for so long and really being able to breathe new life into it. I believe that it's arts deco facade goes
That's
back
right.
to the 30s and the 40s, and so basically
It was built in 1928.
okay, all right,
Yeah,
1928.
so it's the 30s. Yeah.
Right, you know. So really being able to find value and treasure in a building that has the historic beauty and charm that really echoes a lot of the homes and the other buildings in the neighborhood. I think that that's key. So transform is, I think, the right word. You know, when you build it, they will come. And unfortunately, our neighborhood has been without a lot of new development, and that's the difference between our neighborhoods and a lot of the other ones. So I feel like this will really set a precedence for more development and more businesses to come to the area and see value in the kind of money that they could make once we stop pouring all of our funds into Oak Park.
I appreciate how she. I appreciate how she brought it home, right? You know, if we could just end on this note, I've come up with this slogan that Austin is the best of the new West Side. Austin is the largest community in the city of Chicago, at close to 100,000. It used to be more than 100,000 before the Great Exodus. And it was once a suburb that was annexed completely to the city of Chicago. And it sort of has its own feel. You know, you got North Lawndale, Garfield Park, even Humboldt Park. You go further east and, you know, you got the near west side. I feel like Austin has the opportunity to experience a real renaissance. If you look at this slide where we are mostly represented in the media when there's crime.
Yeah.
And then when they're not talking about crime, almost every other topic about the West Side
Yes.
in the media is just nothing.
Yes.
You know, so 25% of all of the the topical stories about the west side of Chicago, which is, we understand there's crime and that, we need to talk about it. But
Yeah.
in order for Austin to become the best of the new west side, we need to be able to leverage all the things that everybody's doing in the community. This development,
Right.
the work that you're doing in arts and culture.
There's so much happening.
There's so much happening.
On the west side that really doesn't get plugged, that really doesn't get all of the stories. And I mean, think about this. Ever since the city, turned its eye, there have been, small business owners and non-for-profits and churches that have had to really, take on the brunt of the work, right? In order to take care of our own. And so we have been doing this work for years. And so being able to have now resources and funding to actually be poured into our neighborhood as a way of help, that's new, and that's a kind of investment that I know that my parents didn't see in their generation, nor
That's
my
right.
grandparents.
Yeah. Well, I will say our grandparents probably had it maybe a little bit better. I feel like it's that those baby boomers who really, it's been tough. It's been tough intergenerationally. But, I really appreciate you creating context for us to understand the impact of all of the work that we do to build community. It's not just building buildings. It's not just police officers driving around. It's a community-wide, I like to call it a whole of community approach to community building. Khalees Stewart, Executive Director, founder of Front Porch Art Center, an explorer, an innovator, an artist, a sister,
You better stop it.
and
But keep going.
a leader, and somebody I consider a friend. I appreciate you joining us today. My name is Baxter Swilly, and I want to remind you all that there will be a job fair for the Laramie State Bank project on this Saturday, October 1st. And it's going to be at the By the Hand Club. And if you are looking for a job, if you're looking to boost your career, you're looking for a wealth building opportunity, there are bids, there are opportunities for subcontractors, there are administrative jobs. Section 3 businesses are encouraged to apply. And as always, because this project is going to hire 50% of all of its workers from Chicago residents, community workers and job seekers are encouraged to attend this event and to apply for these opportunities. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.